Marriage Broker Auntie presents Behind the Scenes. This is an audio series documenting the lives of happily married couples who've committed to spending their every day building healthy relationships. Growing up, we've listened to countless stories that end with meeting your soulmate, getting married, and living happily ever after. But is that all to relationships? We're here to find out more. We hope to unravel marriage through stories of real relationships. I'm your host Priyanka Bharadwaj, founder and CEO of Marriage Broker Auntie, which is a matrimonial advisory and relationship coaching service. What you're about to hear is an unscripted conversation with a couple who've graciously come forward to share their relationship story.
I'm Asha. I'm a finance person. I completed my BCom in Seshadripuram College and worked in Wipro for the past 30 years. And now I have taken the VRS and chilling at home.
Rajgopal here, with a basic degree in science and law. My career has been a varied, with starting from sales, then to marketing, product management. Ultimately, ended up procurement, heavy equipment procurement in a pharmaceutical industry. Last nearly 2 years, I've been chilling at home after retirement, enjoying life with my wife.
My guests today are a Bangalore-based couple, Asha and Rajgopal. Having spent 30 years in corporate careers, this couple has recently started enjoying their retired lives. Rajgopal and Asha met in a typical arranged marriage setting and have been married for 30 years since. They have one son, Nikhil, and a daughter-in-law, Neha, who's a recent addition to their little family. Their marriage began in a joint family setting, swiftly moved into a nuclear one, and then went back into a joint setup, allowing the couple to experience various transitions in their relationship and also allowing them to discover so many things about each other. Today, we have the privilege of learning about their 30-year-old journey. So how did you guys meet?
It was an arranged marriage through common relatives. We didn't have pre-wedding dating or sort of communication with each other.
I have a thing to say. Okay, they came to our house, they saw me, and they went, and afterwards we wanted to talk. So he said that he will come and meet me. I was in the office, and I think in the evening, maybe around 5:30, 6 o'clock, he came to office. Then I think my office was nearby to Mahalakshmi Layout, and we went to the park. So I was wondering what he's going to talk and all, because this was the first experience for, of course, for anybody. Even he didn't know what to start with. So he started telling he has got so many branded shirts. He reads books and he travels. I was feeling very hungry, and because it was already 5:30, 6 o'clock, I was not at all interested in listening to how many shirts he has got. Then afterwards, then I was cursing myself, thinking that if he wanted to talk about the shirts, he could have told me over phone itself. Then, because I was feeling hungry, we went to a nearby hotel. There were no coffee days or anything of that sort that time. Every day, not every day, maybe occasionally, because that time we never had mobile phones. So we had only landlines, and that too, that landline in the office, it used to be in one center place. So people were so curious to know, because we were engaged and we were about to get married. More than doing their work, they were interested in listening to our conversation. So it used to be high by conversation. So that's how it went pre-wedding.
How did you guys decide to, get married? Like, how did you feel like, okay, this person is reasonable, I could marry this person?
Yeah, it was one of those instincts where I felt convinced. It was not an infatuation. Guys had that in those age. Like, you look at a pretty girl and you get infatuated about it. So that was not the case with her. For me, I knew she would be a perfect life partner. It was just not a wedding ceremony, it was a marriage. So then I felt that instinct that it should happen. It should happen with her for me. And that would take me someplace in life. I would be well settled. I would be leading a happy life, going ahead. So that was the sort of instincts that I got first, and then I went by my instincts.
I never had any feelings because parents are getting me married with him, so I got married.
Probably that was the way it went those days.
Once you got married, what was the initial couple of years like?
Initially, see, at home we had some issues that, like one of my sisters was widowed and she had to be brought here to be taken care of. That sort of intruded into our lives also. It was a sort of a silent disagreement there where neither we were able to openly express out our disenchantment or feelings, nor we could accept it and get along. So that took a lot of efforts for both of us to overcome that. And we were also inhibited and not trying to talk to each other.
See, when two people get married, it's two adults with very different and unique personalities and preferences coming together, and that's hard enough in itself. But when you have parents, a sister, like 5 adults trying to figure out how to live with each other, I'm sure it would have been challenging. When did you first acknowledge the issue? You said it was silent for the most part, but when did you talk about it and how did you look for a solution forward? What was that process? Do you remember?
More than we talking, I wouldn't be wrong if I say it was sort of forced on us to take a decision and get along in life. That was after our son Nikhil was born. I must be grateful to her. She's been a very supportive partner in life and never had any grudges, never looked back over the shoulder and said, this is what you did to me, this is why I have been suffering and things like that.
First of all, I think when we got married, it was a joint family. I was trying to keep other people happy rather than making him happy and understanding him. I never used to think about myself or about Rajgopal. So we were living for others rather than living for ourselves.
Got it. I think it's natural, right? You're going into a house with so many people. You don't know who is important in your life, where the boundaries are, etc. That's understandable. Tell me one thing. When you lived in a joint family and then when you moved out and started living on your own, did you learn any new things about each other that you didn't know while living in the joint family, but you discovered once you started living just the two of you?
Oh, yes, we did. That is when I realized how affectionate she is, how loving she is, and how caring she is. Till then, it was just that I was living in a world of my own where the priorities were different. It made me suddenly realize what it takes to be a family.
He was more responsible. In fact, when we were in a joint family, the decisions were taken by his father. I think he's more passionate and very affectionate. All those things as we started realizing when we were separated from the joint family.
It just didn't solely depend on me to run the family. So she also had the lead. We were equal partners in doing anything and everything.
Let's fast forward a lot. Like 30 years hence, what is it like? What do you like and not like about each other now after having been together for so long?
I think we're inseparable. Today, I cannot for a moment think about my life without her. I'm a good cook too. But I intentionally have started forgetting cooking because I like her, the dishes that she makes.
Yeah, I think from the beginning I have seen him as a very cool person, very happy person, and he has got a lot of patience. And of course, more than anything, he has no curiosity at all. Because if he is talking to somebody over phone, I'll be thinking, who is he? Who is that person talking to him? And I wanted to know. I'm curious about it. So I keep asking him, who is that? What did they say and all? But he's at all bothered if I'm talking to somebody. I have to fall upon him and tell that, yes, I'm talking to this person, that person did like this, like that and all. He is not at all curious. So that irritates me a lot. The earlier days, I used to feel very irritated and frustrated. That time I used to tell him like this, like that, and all. He used to listen in 1 year and he used to leave it in another year. So he never used to bother. So many a times I used to think whether he is listening or not, but I could hear him snoring. so so it's better to talk very good secrets with him because he is not at all listening. So I'm very safe. And more than that, whenever we used to have some irritation, and we used to, because in a joint family, if I tell him something, he just used to listen to it, that's all. And at the same time, I don't know what his mother used to tell, that also he used to listen to it. He balanced life like anything. One more thing is, we people have born and brought up in a different atmosphere. So uh, our idea is to save money to the children, and so that it will be helpful and support their needs in the future. But he's not like that. Life is there to enjoy, so we have to enjoy life, that's all. So that, I think, somehow I can't accept that, and I see the cost perspective because I'm a finance person. I see how much cost, how much rate, and all. If I'm sitting in an auto, also, I'll be looking at the auto meter only. So if it is more, I'll just get down there, because if it goes beyond the minimum, I'll just get down there and I'll start walking, because I don't want to pay more money to auto guy. And if we go to hotel, I see he sees the menu card and he sees the dish which he likes. I'll be looking at the rate and I'll be which one is cheaper. So differences here. He will just listen to my suggestions. In case, if first of all, he'll not ask any suggestions, he'll just do whatever he wants to do. That is the main thing. So I think I started accepting, yeah, he's from a different background, I'm from a different background. So he's born and brought up like that, so why should I force my opinion on him?
That's awesome. I was actually going to get into the differences between the two of you. I think you already touched upon the bit about money, right? So I want to ask Rajgopal uncle now. When you saw somebody who was so afraid to spend money and had a very different mindset to yours, how did you deal with that?
Yeah, there were resentments, there were arguments over that, but it was not that argument where it hurt each other. There were times I would look at her point and say, yes, you're right on that. But then habit is the second nature of man, right? It was mutual. She would sort of go back and say, you are incorrigible, I can't do anything with you. But at the same time, she didn't say, okay, because you are doing that, it is your nature, keep doing it. Ultimately, she also made me realize that there is something beyond this also. You need to look at the other requirements of the family. You need to look at things in their perspective. And, you cannot be selfish, which I did take it over a point of time. But, well, there are certain things which I still continue. Because there is a requirement, irrespective of the cost. You spending money, I better get a quality material. It's not like I buy this 3 months down the line, that is gone, so throw it off, replace it with the same sort. So have it, maintain it, and keep using it for long. That is what I look at. The difference there is, like, for instance, I would come back to her one point where she said if she's going in an auto, she finds that it is getting beyond the cost and don't want to spend that. Okay, I would look at it this way. For instance, I don't want to spend that money. I will start walking from point zero to reach my destination. Or if I can afford that, okay, I don't think that I will save this for some rainy day, and so let me do it midway. I'll spend that and use that mode of transport to reach that place.
While we're talking about differences and how you've accommodated each other and you're at a comfortable place today, I want to talk about few other aspects where you have to come together to do things together. Parenting, for instance. Did you have different thoughts about parenting? How did you want to parent your son?
Yes, I would say the disagreements were similar, the agreements were similar. and and there were no unilateral decisions as far as the parenting goes. It was always the child first, then we sit down, whatever it is, we talked it out with each other. And when I look, I didn't find any major disagreements with what we had to do in that aspect.
In fact, he is a different kind of child. He's so disciplined from the beginning and so soft spoken. And I think we never spent much time in mentoring him
Right.
because he was a self-made boy. So, of course, he spent his childhood days with my parents. So, they taught him how he should be. So, his intention is to be a good person and to study and achieve something. Even while choosing any course in his engineering or to go abroad, all those things, he took the decisions on his own. So we support.
Apart from family, what about a social life outside of family? Do you guys have friends outside of family? Is it common couple friends, or do you guys have individual friends where you take time off to go hang out with your own friends? What's that been like?
Common couple friends is only of late, as we started nearing the end of our office careers, we have had occasions of a few of my friends visiting home, and she got to know them. Otherwise, friends wise, it's been some sort of my way is mine, your way is yours.
Till last 2 years back, we never used to go out because our world was going to office in the morning, leaving the house around 6 o'clock and coming back around 9 o'clock in the night. We never had time to think about socializing. So that only we started. Okay, we thought that okay, we should go together, we should spend time outside, all those things. But Corona affected us.
Yeah. Now, let me add here. Yes, I did renew some of my old friends once I retired. She continued to work even after my retirement. And that was when I would take time off, go sit with them, talk to them.
So, next question is about vacations. Do you guys take vacations? Have you traveled? And do you guys travel similarly?
Here again, I would say we do. Even initially when we think about going on a vacation, there are choices of places that we look about, the choices, how we commute to that place and return and stay. It's all sorted out initially.
Tell me one thing. When you go to that place, do you guys travel similarly? Meaning, do both of you feel like, okay, I want to see 50 places in 2 days? Or do both of you feel like, okay, I just want to chill for 2 days?
She would like to chill for 2 days at a place. I would like to see 50 places.
I feel we have gone there to feel that weather and place. That's all. However, the places and all we can see in TV and Google also. So why going there? And if it is not nice, we will think that it was nice in the TV rather than looking over here.
I'm not satisfied. I'm not full going to a place once. I have gone there. I have seen this, but I'm not getting a feeling that I belong to this place or I have had something to do with this place. So when I'm in that look around something, visit so many places around there, feel where you can go a second time.
So interesting when you are two unique personalities where you've accepted each other over the years and said, okay, this is you, this is me. But we'll both fight every day to see if we can meet somewhere midway, or if I can get you to my side, or if, the other way around. And that itself is a journey.
Its relationship is always both sides, right? It's a two-way journey. You listen to me, whatever it is. I am the master. I take all the decisions. You just listen to me. It doesn't work that way. Because it's like often said, I only say or I only do what I know. There is something beyond that. So let me listen. Let me hear you. Let me go by what you say also. It's good. And at the end of the day, she's not taking bad decisions. Life is such a thing. It's adjustments. More than anything else, we are trying to be perfect inside what we are. We are not trying to perfect relationships. We are trying to be perfect in the relationship. That's all.
I think nobody consciously thinks of the relationship. You're just trying to do what works for you, and maybe you take inputs from the other person when you're in a good mood, when you're open, etc. But at the end of the day, you're trying to optimize for yourself in the relationship, and with the security and the trust and the comfort that both of you want to be with each other, and that's why you feel safe to do what you want to do. If you didn't know whether the other person wants to be with you, then you can't take your independent decisions. You're constantly optimizing for the other person, right? What would you say are some of your favorite memories with each other?
I think our memories are only after son's wedding and son's graduation. And it revolves around that, Alva. That's
See,
all.
the first one was, the birth of Nikhil. That's a very great memory for me. The second one is his wedding and our life after that.
Having been married for so long, is there any message or anything that you would like to share for youngsters today who are looking to get married?
I would say a couple should have loads of patience, tenacity, and perseverance in taking the relationship forward. Minor irritants, disagreements, fights, all are there as a part of life. We fight, we disagree, we argue because we want to keep this relationship going. Okay, that should bring in the warmth, that should nurture the relationship and take it forward rather than snapping it like a twig. Have the patience of a blade of grass. Bow your head when difficulties are there. Then stand up straight. You will look at life with a different meaning.
The boy has his own life and girl has her own life, and let them be happy. Let them not interfere in anybody's matters. I think with that, first of all, ego should not be there.
Individual identity and respect for each other in a relationship is the most important thing.
From my conversation today, I realized that our template for love is so black and white and limited. People dismiss arranged marriages saying it's not based on love, and that love after marriage is out of compulsion or habit rather than out of genuine feelings. No matter who you are as an individual, it really takes only a few challenging moments in life that you ride out together to realize that you make one hell of a team together. What I learned from my conversation with Asha and Rajgopal today is that when you respect individuality in a relationship, you enable each other to be the best versions of yourselves, and somewhere along the way, you end up building the best relationship for both of you. Thank you for listening to Behind the Scenes. These conversations are available on the Marriage Broker Auntie channel on YouTube and Spotify. Please subscribe to our channel if you haven't already done so you can have access to future episodes as soon as they're out. Much has been said about how we meet our partners, but very little about how we build relationships with them. So if you think this conversation could inspire someone you know, don't forget to share this with them. If you'd like to follow us on social media, you can find us on Instagram and Twitter. You can also go to our website marriagebrokerantie.com, auntie with an IE, to learn more about this project and the work we do.